1. Hungry Ghouls in Watery Whittier. In many ways, Whittier, that dot of a town on the western edge of Prince William Sound, is not for the faint of heart. Even getting to Whittier is ominous. The palpitations start before you get there, driving through that 2.5-mile long tunnel, the one carved into a mountain. Signs warn of avalanches. Eventually, you'll see that light at the end of the tunnel, reminding you of stories about those who have briefly visited the afterlife. When you reach the light, however, it's pretty clear that the angels have ceded, for the time being at least, the town to another kind of army. Perhaps that's what makes Whittier the strangest, most haunted town in Alaska. Whittier residents lived with constant reminders of that other army. First and most obvious, there's the Buckner Building, hanging over the town like the ghost of an old warrior. The Buckner Building was named after such a warrior, General Simon Buckner, who died after commanding the defenses of Alaska early in the Second World War. He was then sent to the Pacific Theater and died during the closing days of the Battle of Okinawa, the highest-ranking U.S. military officer to have been killed at the hands of the enemy during World War II. Buckner was tough, and so was his building. Completed in 1953 at the height of the Cold War, the mammoth, sturdy structure was intended to withstand bombs and keep as many as 1,000 soldiers safe if a Cold War army invaded. It had in it a movie theater, a bowling alley, and even a jail. Tunnels led from the building to other parts of the town. It was one of the most spectacular buildings the military ever built in Alaska, and the largest at the time. But then, as these things go, the military pulled out and left the building to the spirits, many of whom were skilled at graffiti. One of them likes the movie The Shining, displaying this fondness by painting the word "Red Rum" lovingly on one of its walls. "It's fitting," said Ted Spencer, who lives in San Diego, but is curator of the Whittier Museum, one of the best museums in Alaska. Once, while exploring the building, he entered a room too dark to tell what it was. Finally, after the sun moved and his eyes adjusted, he realized that he was standing on the stage of a 300-person auditorium. It was, in a word, spooky, a feeling heightened often by the strange noises in the building. Animals scurrying, wind whistling through open windows. Once, Spencer even heard water running down a pipe that was crashing onto the floor. Who turned on the spigot? He still doesn't know. The spookiness and the noise may have lured some spirits to the comfort of the living. The Baggage Towers, commonly known as BTI, is the place where nearly all 160 Whittier residents live today. Stories of bumps in the night and phantom noises abound. One of the ghosts who inhabit the building is apparently fond of whistling. Another has a particularly heavy step. Up and down the corridors of the 14-story tower ghosts trudge. One of them is hungry. He or she once rattled around in the kitchen of the city manager Bob Prunella. By all accounts a rational man, he went as far as to reach for his gun before he realized it was just a ghost. Diana Barnes, the executive assistant for the city, said she has some stories she won't talk about because they're just too scary. Mostly, though, the ghosts are benign. Residents know that they share the tower with the other side, but they just live with it. Two, the Yamna Lake Monster. Lake Yamna is located in a remote region of southwest Alaska. The lake is not accessible by road, so the only way to get there is by float plane or boat. It has a maximum length of 77 miles and a maximum width of 22 miles, making it the largest lake in Alaska and the second largest lake in America. The lake's greatest depth is 988 feet. The lake is home to a variety of fish, but there is some evidence that suggests something else may be swimming in the waters of Lake Yamna. For decades, people have reported seeing mysterious creatures swimming in the lake. Such reports remain unexplained. The creature has been named the Yamna Monster. The monster may be part of Alaskan Native mythology. The Aleut people tell of terrifying fish monsters called Jigiknuk, which hunted in packs and would kill hunters canoeing on the lake. Jigiknuk were feared by the Aleuts, and they avoided hunting on the lake. The Tlingit people told of a monster that inhabited Lake Yamna called the Gunagakdit. The Gunagakdit was allegedly a person that transformed into a lake monster and saved his village from starvation. Strange monsters are ubiquitous in Alaskan Native mythology, and it is unclear whether such stories are based on real experiences or if they were no more than horror stories to be told around a campfire at night. Alaskan Native folklore does not distinguish between fact and fiction, but recent sightings are more reliable as sources of evidence for the existence of the monster. Sightings of the Yamna monster have occurred for decades. In 1979, Anchorage Daily News offered a $1,000 reward for anyone who could prove the existence of the creature. These are some notable sightings. 1942, Babe Ellsworth and Bill Hammersley were flying over Lake Yamna when they spotted some peculiar tiny specks in the water. They came in closer and saw the specks were actually dull aluminum-colored fish with broad, blunt heads. When they spiraled down closer, they found out there were probably a few dozen of them. Each one was about 10 feet long. The width of the fish's heads were the same as the width of their bodies. Their tails moved side to side like fish, while whales move their tails up and down. 1945. U.S. Coastal and Geographic Survey pilot Larry Rost was flying 100 feet above the lake when he saw a 20-foot-long, dull aluminum-colored fish. 1963. A biologist saw a 25 to 30-foot-long fish in the water. It did not come up for air. 1967. Alaskan missionary Chuck Karpuchetz saw the creature once while flying over the lake. Later, he and a friend decided to fish for it. 5/16-inch stainless steel cables attached to tuna hooks, which were baited with caribou meat, were tied to the float plane. Something with incredible strength bit and towed the plane around the lake. When the plane was recovered, the cables were gone and the tuna hooks had been straightened out. 1988. A community of people on the northwest shore of the lake saw a large fish in the water. One witness said she saw that it had a fin with a white strip along it. 1997. Veteran taxi air pilot Tim Laporte and 2 other passengers were flying a few hundred feet over the lake when they spotted a large fish lying still on the surface. They flew in closer. The passengers and the pilot estimated the fish to be 12 to 14 feet long. It had dark gray or brown skin. One of the passengers saw the fish dive out of sight as the plane got closer. The above list does not include every encounter with the creature, but it does include the most notable ones. There are also accounts of people being knocked out of boats, possibly as the result of impact of a large fish jumping out of the water. There are many theories as to what the Iamna lake monster could be. Many people believe that large fish called white sturgeons are responsible for the encounters. White sturgeons are bottom-dwelling fish that inhabit estuaries, lakes, bays, and slow-moving rivers off the west coast of America, from the Aleutian Islands to Central California. White sturgeons can be as long as 20 feet and weigh up to 1,799 pounds, and can live for as long as 100 years. White sturgeons have been known to jump out of the water and accidentally hit boats. This would explain why boats have been knocked over. The fact that white sturgeons spend most of their time on the bottom of bodies of water would explain the rarity of sightings. Another possible candidate is the Pacific sleeper shark, a carnivore and scavenger that inhabits the North Pacific. Pacific sleeper sharks can survive in fresh water, but the amount of time they can survive in fresh water is unknown. The longest Pacific sleeper shark ever found was 14 feet long, but biologists say that they might be able to grow as long as 23 feet. There's a lot that science does not know about Pacific sleeper sharks. Little is known about their reproduction, and their diet has not been thoroughly studied. But the remains of marine mammals, such as porpoises, have been found in the stomachs of Pacific sleeper sharks. This suggests Pacific sleeper sharks are highly aggressive predators. Neither Pacific sleeper sharks nor white sturgeon have been officially documented as species that inhabit the lake. But Lake Iamna is huge and easily capable of providing a habitat for either of the two possible candidates. 3. The origin of Scary Mary. One of the most legendary ghosts in Alaska goes by the name of Scary Mary, and her story begins with a gold rush expedition. Mary came to Skagway, Alaska as a blushing young woman, already engaged to a prospector that went by the name of Klondike Ike. She checked into the Golden North Hotel, where she and Ike became engaged and were set to start their future together. The two lovers spent several days at the hotel before Ike had to return to his prospecting ventures over Chilkoot Pass. Mary's fiancé, Klondike Ike, set off over 500 miles to the goldfields with tremendously high hopes that he would win them their fortune. Unfortunately for both Ike and Mary, Ike never returned. Ever the loyal partner, Mary waited for Ike to return home to her. She locked herself in the room the couple had rented, lost in the abyss of worry for her lover, and waited. When the housekeepers of the Golden North Hotel finally broke down the door with concern, they discovered Mary in the wedding dress she had planned to be married in, dead and waiting for Ike to return to her so that they may marry. In many of the stories, it is said that Mary ended up coming down with a fatal case of pneumonia while waiting for Ike in room 23. Other stories imply that after months of waiting for his return, she simply locked herself in her room, disallowed any company, and refused to eat. Legends tell us that Mary still hasn't checked out of her room at the Golden North Hotel, and since her death arrived all too soon, that she has been checking up on guests in the middle of the night. Her apparition appears as a pale figure and is seen looking through the hotel windows, waiting for her lover's return from the mountains. There have been reports of cold air pockets when walking through the hallways, and subsequent glimpses of white rushing past them. Even more strange are the reports of the unfortunate guests who wake up to Mary's ghost hovering above their beds, as if checking to be sure that Ike isn't in bed with another woman. Hello my lovelies, thank you so much for watching another video on the Abysmal channel. I apologize that it's taken me so long to get another video out. I've been attempting this video for several weeks now. A lot of family things came up that kept preventing me from finishing the video, and also my recording softwares and editing softwares just stopped working, and I had to try to find new ones and come up with new ways to make videos. This video in particular has a million voice clips because my recording software just kept stopping recording midway through, so yeah, anyway, I had to mesh it all together, but it was worth it, and I'm just glad to have another video up. Please like, subscribe, and comment. I really enjoy interacting with you guys down below. So, yeah, I'll see you guys again soon. Bye-bye.